Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Pastor Ron Bias. Now, of course, you know him likely as the councilman with the Morgan City Council. However, you wear many hats, and one of those hats is you're a part of the Juneteenth Bike Ride in Morgan City, going 5 years strong. Welcome.
Thank you for having us again, Ms. Foley, so that we can let the public know that we are going to put on the 5th annual Juneteenth Celebration Bike Ride. The Juneteenth Celebration Bike Ride began in 2019 during the height of COVID, when a group of bike riders got together, and I think you and your husband were part of that bike ride at that time. And this is what's come of it now. It's just grown since then. And yes, I am part of the committee. They made me be the director. I didn't want to be the director, but if I would have refused, I would have to leave Morgan City. So I'm just doing the best that I can. But I think that this year, with the help of the committee and all of the people who are supporting this, this is going to be the best one. We're extremely excited about what's about to go on June the 15th.
Well, I'd like to say that if we were still a part of the committee, we took a step back this year, we would probably say the same thing.
Right.
You deserve to be the director. I think the first year that we did this, we participated, it turned into kind of a Juneteenth bike ride history tour because of you. You kind of actually gave us a lot of the history highlights of Morgan City that not many people knew, whether you were black, white, in between, Asian, Hispanic, no one knew a lot of the history, but thanks to you, we were enlightened. So, you know, deserve your title is well deserved.
And you know, I have to pay that privilege, that homage rather, to my elders, because they told me the story. Yeah, some of it I did experience, some of it I did live, and that's what history is. You just got to keep telling the story and telling the story and telling the story, because a lot of this is not going to be written in books, but it has to be passed on by word of mouth. And basically, that is what we're doing here. When we do this, we're saying, you know, at one time, just to use an example, it was a black school there.
Yeah, and since this is 5 years, most people, you know, even myself, I'm like, are we going to ever run out of content? Doesn't seem like we were 5 years strong. You guys are going, and now this year, you're going to be talking about the churches, the historically black churches in Morgan City. And I know, again, you were kind of the tour guide early on. How is it set up this year?
Well, this year we are going to do 6 churches in Morgan City, African-American churches, houses of worship, which are over 100 years old. That's not to exclude any other church, but we just decided the ones that's been here over 100 years. And if I start naming them, I might forget, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Mount Pilgrim, Mount Zion, Walmsley, Lee Chapel, New Zora, and Mount Arrow.
You did well.
Yeah.
See,
Thank you.
You got them, over 100 years old, and that is pretty impressive that all those churches that you named, which are not that far apart in distance, are still around here today.
Exactly. And you know, Ms. Foley, that's actually 500 plus years.
Now you know I'm related to your cousin. Please put that long on there. You know he gonna hear that and say, she ain't been on 40 for a minute now. But go ahead, sir. Yes.
Miss Long.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's 500 plus years of telling the story. And you know, I'm glad that we decided on the churches, because right now the churches, in my opinion, and some people agree with this and some people don't, they're not standing as strong as they once stood. Not just in the African American community, but in the community overall. The church is supposed to be the pillar and ground of the truth. Can I give you an example? I remember when I was a little boy and we had trouble in the community, you didn't see the police or the FBI or SWAT. You saw the pastor come, and he talked to people, and he brought us to his office, and he talked to us. Even in education at Mount Pilgrim, that's where I first started my early education, even before kindergartens and Head Starts and things of that nature. The assistant pastor was the principal of the school.
Yeah. So you kind of, I don't, I'm loving it, but I know you're the keynote speaker, and of course the theme of this year is the role of the church. You
Right.
will be speaking on that, and we had a pretty good conversation before we got started. I might bring in a little bit of that into this interview,
Okay.
but I wanna also ask you when we come back, because we do have to take a break, and it goes by quickly. When did that change? And we'll get to that question when we get back from break. So y'all come on back. We've got much more to cover right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right back into it. We have Pastor Ron Bias, who's now the director of the Juneteenth Bike Ride, and the theme for this year's bike ride is the role of the church. And we were getting into this really good conversation. I said I'd come back to it. When did all of this change as far as how impactful the church has been on the community?
As far as I can recollect, things started to change uh, during integration. And the reason why I say that because I noticed before integration, there was unity in the African American community. And let me just use an example. Uh, when I came down the street and your mom was sitting on the porch and I had to speak, I had to. When I went to Sunday school on Sunday morning, I couldn't just go to Sunday school and say, oh, we had cookies and we had something to drink and go home, because my grandmother would want to know what was the scripture for the day. What did the pastor say? She didn't want to hear that stuff about, ooh, pastor preached a good sermon. No, what did he preach? Mm-hmm. And those morals that you learned in Sunday school and in church, and it didn't matter if you went to catechism, if you went to Sunday school, wherever you went to get that early Christian education, you had to get that foundation under you, and you had to take that to school, you had to take it to the playground, you had to take it out into the community. But now, mind you, the church came out into the community. I remember we didn't have recreation per se, but going back to Mount Pilgrim, in the back of the church, you had seesaws, because they don't make those anymore. You had swings, you had all the different things that you needed to play on when it came to recreation. So the church supported the community.
So it changed during that time, but why? Why did it change?
I think what happened was we got so busy trying to prove that we are just as good as anybody else that we basically forgot who we are.
Are you giving me a speech right now?
No, I'm just telling you.
Okay.
I'm giving
It sounds
you,
good though.
I'm giving you my
It
opinion.
sounds
Yeah,
good.
that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So because you guys are going to be highlighting the churches, the six churches that are over 100 years old, what's going to be different this year? Because we kind of mentioned there's going to be, yes, you're going to take the bike ride, but then actually it wraps up, it culminates all at the Jimmy Johnson basketball court. What's going to be different?
What is going to be different this year? It's going to be a lot more things for the young people. We've already got people who have volunteered to do an unlimited amount of snow cones. We're going to have a train, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be out there. We're going to have a young man that's going to come in just to speak to the young people. He attends ULL, and he's going to come. He's 19 years old, and he's going to come and speak in particular to the young people just for a few minutes. And we're even going to do something exciting this year for the elderly. We're going to have, I think, 5 or 6 rounds of bingo, and they're going to win gift cards. And of course, we're going to serve some good food. But the highlight of the deal will be, what a celebration will be, we're commemorating African American history. And be mindful that African American history is American history. You can't take one away from the other. Though some of it may be a dark history, some of it may be a bad history, but yet it is American history. And let me hurry and say this. There are white people that supports this. We got one lady, Miss Grieg Chauvin, she gets excited about black history, local black history. We got Neil Mayon, who helps us from the archives. We got donors who just say, hey, we want to see this thing be a success. Because I believe in my heart that when we realize that we all play a part in this community, I think that we can live up to that standard that we all want to live up to. And we have to do it through the church.
All right, sounds good. We've got 2 more segments to go. Y'all come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, my guest is Pastor Ron Byers, who is the director of the Juneteenth Bike Ride in Morgan City, which will be taking place on June 15th. We know that it's a Juneteenth, but Juneteenth falls in on a weekday. So on the weekend prior to Juneteenth will be the bike ride in Morgan City. Tell us the times and where you're going to be getting started at.
The time will be 8 a.m. We're going to muster at the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church. At the end of Federal Avenue here in Morgan City, Louisiana. I think the address is 713. Don't quote me on that, but it is at the end of Federal Avenue. We're going to gather there, and then we'll get the waivers. Speaking of waivers, you can sign a waiver that morning. If you haven't signed one, there will be some out there. We'll hear somebody give a brief history of Mount Pilgrim, and then we'll begin our bike ride. And also, speaking of bikes, we are saying it's all right if you can't ride a bike and you need to ride in a motor vehicle, but try your very best to have the least amount of motor vehicles as possible, because what happens is it'll turn into a motorcade. And it's not a motorcade, it is actually a bike ride. And why is it a bike ride? Because that's the genesis of it. We all started out one Thursday night, if my memory serves me correctly, by flawless T-shirts, and man, we must have rode around the whole city.
We rode all night.
Exactly.
Do you know we ended at 11 o'clock?
I didn't know.
I think, and we weren't tired. We just wanted to keep going because we wanted you to give us as much information as possible. We ended.
And what? It was exciting.
At Lawrence Park.
Exactly, sure did. I remember that. Me and my grandson, we were riding home, and he said, by the way, he's 13 now,
Wow.
And he's rode every year, and he'll be riding again this year. But getting back to the processional, we will have a hydration truck just in case somebody needs to hydrate, need something to drink or whatever. If your bike get a flat, you can put it on the truck, and that way you can still be in the bike ride.
Yes. How is the city getting involved?
The city's getting involved. They're going to provide us electricity. They're going to make sure that the Jimmy Johnson playground is cleaned up the evening before. And after we put the decoration in, we got a promise from the police department that they will, do some extra patrolling overnight to make sure that nobody messes with the decorations that are put up. So, yes, the city is participating. And anyway, and thus far, whatever we've asked for within reason, they've been there for us.
Yeah, and I'd like to also highlight, of course, we know you're part of the council, but even your council members, they've joined. We've seen, particularly Mr. Tim Hemel, the mayor himself, Mr. Steve Domingue, and Mr. Lou will come out. Right. Am I missing anybody?
Mark Stevens, but Mark is gone now. We now have Miss Bonnie Leonard, who is serving an interim term, and I think that she's going to be out there also. Awesome.
Yes. Okay, great. And of course, you're highlighting the churches, but they will have their own tables with likely some additional history or somebody there to talk a little bit more about the churches, right?
If they wish to bring one, and we will allow that. And if you got any kind of history, if you got a book you want to bring and just put it on display or whatever, and we got a place that you can put that up, come on and bring it, because this is about history. And we want to make sure that if there's anything there that we can provide that will enrich somebody, empower somebody, that's what we are trying to do, especially the young people. Quick example, I asked my grandson, who is now 13, I said, man, do you know where the Blue Devils come from? He said, yes, Papa, they come from Duke. I said, not Sumter William Blue Devils. They came from Dillard University. So those are the kind of things.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, he's been there each year, and again, like I said, I remember the first time it was the two of you,
Right.
and now he's 13. Wow, time
13,
flies.
right.
So we're actually going to talk a little bit more. We're going to switch a little bit because we've talked a little bit about Juneteenth Bike Ride, but you also serve on another board, and that is the 100 Black Men of St. Mary Parish, and again, coming up, and that's going to be in Franklin. So, and that's what we typically do. You do here in Morgan City, you go to Franklin for the Soul Food Fest. So come on back. We've got a little information we want to throw out there about the Soul Food Fest, which is going to be happening in Franklin. Okay. Welcome back. Okay, let's get right to it because we don't have much time. You've been holding on to this. Please show us the shirt, please, for the Juneteenth Bike Ride before we jump into another topic here.
And this is the shirt for this year, and it's simply the shirt to commemorate that this is the 5th year that we've done the Juneteenth celebration.
See if you can hold it over just a little bit more. Over. There we go. Perfect. We can see it now.
The Juneteenth celebration bike ride. And it shows on the front that it's started in 2019 and it's yet on going to 2024. And when you turn the shirt around, you will see two people on a bicycle.
Bring it down some.
And you will see the year 1865 and then on to 2024. And that trail there with those other years, it tells a story. But when you come out to the celebration, we will tell you the story about the trail. And if you want to get one of the T-shirts, we've taken all the orders that we're going to take. But if you will call 985-518-9512, we will direct you in the direction to get you one of these shirts.
Awesome. All right. Yes.
And
so
I also want to mention right quick, because I don't want them to get me, there's a group of people who has done a tremendous job to make this possible. And we fuss a lot and we argue a lot, and I can't beat them all, so sometimes they're strong on me. And that's the rest of the committee, Ms. Ruby Mays and Ms. Sandra Green, Ms. Trina Coulon, and we got a newcomer this year, Ms. Robin Moore, and they've done a tremendous job. And I would also like to say thank you to my boss, Ms. Margaret Byers, who has allowed me to put a lot of time and energy into this.
Awesome. Well, with that said, let's jump into Soul Food Fest. You can change your hat here. You guys are coming up on now 4 years, is that correct?
4 years.
For the Soul Food Fest, which takes place in Franklin. It is going to be on the Bayou side, and typically a great time is had, but it's actually kind of over 3 days, starting off on June 13th, which is the business after hours for folks to come out and look, every time I say it, I'm going to win something. I am going to win a door prize. I say it, I manifest, I'm walking away with something. But there is a business after hours that takes place from 5 to about 8, I believe,
Exactly.
at Tesh Theater, correct?
Put on by the chamber, and
Yes.
we appreciate that. And also, I just want to make mention that we did last year before, we were the nonprofit organization of the year. And I serve as the co-chairman for the membership committee. And you got a great group of guys that we just put our heads together and we try to get positive things done. In St. Mary Parish, we try to live out the mission statement of the 100 Black Men and catering to African American youth. What they see is what they'll be. And this year, it's going to be very exciting. We've changed a few things, but we've also added a few things. And as you said, the social, that Thursday night, we'll kick off the actual festival that Friday night along the bayou. You will have DJs, and I don't think you'll have any bands. Don't quote me on that. I don't have all the information in the front of me. And then on that Saturday, we will have the 5K run. We will have the Tesh Action Clinic, medical village, if I could call it that, and various other things. But the mainstay of the thing will be the food. You're going to have the vendors out there with
Yes.
all. So I would suggest if you're on a diet, you know, just get ready
Just
to
relax a
yeah,
little bit.
vacate it for a couple of days, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and just come out and enjoy the Soul Food Fest.
One more thing, and I know you may not have a lot of information on it, but I saw that there's going to be a pageant. So you guys will have your very first Soul Food Festival pageant.
I hate to say this, but it had to be canceled because of some
Oh,
things that came in that
okay.
was beyond the guy's control who was trying to put it together. So maybe they will look at it for next year.
Next year. Awesome. All right. With that said, thank you very much for being here and giving us all the information that we need. Again, remember, June 15th, start off in Morgan City for the Juneteenth Bike Ride, then head on over to Franklin for the Soul Food Fest. Thank you, and thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.